Hello guys, my name is Neeb or Neeb or whatever you want to call me. Um, Today I thought about doing something a little bit different, which is narrating a run that I did today, which was a Grim Batol 16 that almost went wrong right at the beginning, but we kind of managed to complete it. And well, who's this video for? It's obviously not for disc priests that are already like good in keys, but also not really beginner disc priests who maybe don't even know the ropes to the spec in general. Um, this is like more for people who are maybe touching up on their first 12s or 13s and are looking to see how the spec plays in higher keys. And I thought maybe I could get some commentary on that. So with this, I'm gonna start the run. Right at the beginning, I'm checking whether I use the Rift movement speed for myself or the Rift slow. The reason for that is that Proud Paladins like to kite in this dungeon a lot because the trash is actually pretty dangerous. But let me just make this video bigger. Okay, now. The run always starts the same. You pull the big dragon, you line the first cast, you PI your shaman or DK or mage. Mostly it's a shaman. And hopefully you kick most of the casts. Something interesting is gonna happen here, which is attack is just gonna die. And this is where in my head I'm like, okay, this one is over. Because a lot of the times the run just kind of depletes at this point. It doesn't, however, here. Spoiler alert. With the Earth Ella tanking for a bit, he comes back, he taunts, and everything is fine. In hierarchies, you mostly just do one pack here, and then you start chaining in, I think, the pet. Is this what we're doing? Yeah. Exactly. We're finishing this with CDs, and then we pull the two casters at the dragon, and normally you get PI ready here as well. You can just send everything you have. Maybe noteworthy is I always try to look at my raid frame. You see the cast icons going off, and I try to pre-shield people when I see that a cast is going off. Obviously, you can also fear, and you should fear. Um, but yeah, I tend to mostly be the last resort stop. Then you get the Dragon Gauntlet. You typically try to remove this dragon from the map. And you leave the bridge here alone, and then you get rid of this pack here and the one in front of the boss. And the boring section, honestly. We end up doing a really good job, actually. I think, yeah. This is a dangerous pack in my opinion because you have 4 casters, so you're typically lacking kicks. I'm lining a cast here as you can see, but then you have also stuff on the ground to dodge. I was wondering maybe I should skip forward the boring parts of this run, but maybe I just don't. I'm kind of getting the ropes of it, you know? This is the first time I'm doing stuff like that. Yeah, the first boss is a bit weird. Just this is thing you can do as disc, which is if you use your Mind Blast like one global after this shout here, the rift will explode. As long as you extend it, the rift will explode after the explosions from the next ability, this here, the spikes or whatever. As you can see on the 16, this fucking trucks. And your goal should be to reset, well, obviously to have people at 100% live, and on higher keys for yourself. The main goal is also to get Flash Shield DR on yourself, ideally a shield on yourself and the Shaman, and of course reset your Shadow Fiend as well as possible. There's not really a rotation for this because it's also dependent on where the lines go. So while I have like a more of a rotational approach for other bosses, this one is like more a little bit free flowing. I just use whatever I feel like, basically. But note how I will generally shield the Shaman, use Fade, and if I don't forget it, Flash Shield DR. Yeah, I think I used it here. This is basically the whole fight. One thing I should probably do better is keeping Atomic up on a tank. It's still 3% DR. But as you can see, I'm kind of underusing Radiance, at least before the... I like to use it as a heal in this case. And just pre-atone with shields and flash heals, so I get the DR and I get another shield off. Because the Radiance healing is actually pretty good now. Mage generally is really good at surviving these big hits. Shaman is very bad. Evoker is bad, but Evoker also has a lot of CDs for themselves. As you can see, I'm dropping very low on these. I use another Rapture here. So as long as you like use everything on cooldown and are kind of diligently with your own death CDs and don't die, I wouldn't say this boss is free, but it's like it's not hard. Let's keep it at that. That's the boss. Our timing here is actually kind of good, I want to say. Not sure. The way you played this section here is, well, these packs you don't want them to last very long, obviously, but it's very dependent on how you have cooldowns in your group. Most of the time I'm trying to line my PI with Shaman Ascension, which you can see below his rate frame. It's shown as 3 minutes here, but it's actually 2 minutes. It's some bug with OmniCD, I think. But you can see my PI like here. That's generally something you should watch because it kind of informs your decision where or how to pull, right? So not all the runs are the same because depending on where you have your PI, you are gonna use your, you're gonna pull differently. That's what I want to say. As you can see, the PI is ready now. Shaman Ascension is ready. Half-Check says the mage has a CD as well, and so we're just kind of exploding this pack. As you can see, it's dying really fast. My goal here for these packs is obviously to do as much damage as possible and to keep the group pre-atoned, not only for the DR, but also so I can just quickly top them, and also kind of track the casters a little bit in case I need to fear or I need to shield someone. Something that might happen is that someone drops low right before the AoE, and then you can like save them with a Rapture Shield or something. These Flame Render packs here are very dangerous. It's only 3 mobs, but this one flame, this one cast that you're doing, like the slash, is like absolutely destroying tanks. So the goal here is to just interrupt them as much as possible, or send death cities with it. I think we're pulling the boss here. Ideally, we would have PI and cooldowns ready. We have Lust ready, but I think we're delaying it for PI and the Augvoker Breath. Okay, so this is actually a boss where I can talk more about. What I typically do on this boss is I use my Mindbender a little bit early, so I have it still up on the first AoE and use Mind Blast accordingly. The duration doesn't really matter. And then typically I will not use anything on the second on this here, right? As you can see, I only have Rift up, but not Mindbender, and that's fine. The group will drop low, but you get generally not gonna die. Now here on the overlap, you definitely want to have Mindbender up, and I just use it and Radiance once, keep the pendants, and then I use the pendants on the moment where I feel like there's the most burst damage on the group, and then top the group off with the following Void Blast, which does more damage and more healing after your reprimand. So here I get Mindbender ready first during the kiting. I even flash heal the arm myself here, a little bit late in my opinion. And my goal here is basically to reset the Mindbender again for the third AoE section. Now here I just use Mindbender again, I think. Mind Blast. Which I do. I'm dropping a little bit low because I don't use Fade for some reason. And a little trick here you can do, which I learned from now actually, is if you line the tank cast here, you don't get the dots, which is actually ridiculous. I think it's a bug. I don't know if it's intended, but anyway, I had Mindbender ready, so I think this is not really a problem to heal as long as you have Mindbender up. We're kiting here. This section is a bit weird, I think. I bury here because I actually don't get Mindbender up, which is something you should always like keep in mind. If you for some reason don't get your Mindbender back, just call for Death CD. And I think I use it here on the second set of the AoE because I kind of realized, okay, we're not getting the third, or I also want it back for the next pack. So it's better to just use it towards the end. So this in the next pack is actually, I think, one of the more dangerous sections. Um, because you have to make a choice here. Do you use 2 minutes here and potentially have the next pull be much slower, or you just don't use 2 minutes and then this pack just kind of takes long and you might lose an overall use of 2 minute CDs towards the end of the run. As you can see, we do end up using CDs here. And I think it bites us a little bit in the ass in the next pull, we'll see. Wait, I just noticed I have the fucking weak aura up for some treasure hoard. I didn't even notice. So here we're obviously gonna pull like the warlocks and one of the lava benders. Ideally, you have PI ready here in 2 minute cities, but as I just said, like we don't. So I think that this pull is very spicy actually. I don't remember exactly. Thankfully, we have a mage and a shaman here, so we have good curse dispels. Something I'm wary about, as you can see, is I'm not using Mindbender in a start, even though it's great damage and it's possible to use it. I like to keep it for the second section here. Because something that is very apparent is this dot fucking trucks your group, and you just kind of need to be topped for this overlap right here. I think I'm even paint stopping myself, yeah, and I kind of do the mistake of letting my atonement drop here. This pack just lives a little bit too long. I think we survive, but it's like there's not really, I think, a health pot even here, yeah. Like we live with the skin of our teeth, and obviously this doesn't go through anymore. Thankfully, we have 2 minute cities on the next pack, which is going to be everything you see on the screen minus the 2 warlocks at the end. And I think we're meant to focus the flame render here, which I take into target a little bit late here. But as you can see, it kind of explodes, and the paladin is like hiding the enforcer mostly because that one does like ridiculous damage. If I remember correctly, we are kind of losing people here. I'm not sure. Yeah, the next pull is gonna be the 2 warlocks with the lava bender. I think I use Mindbender here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I do. Because I'm like confident that I get to reset it again. Since we don't have 2 minute CDs up. So that's what's kind of informing my decision to just use it there, because I know that we're not gonna have any big damage cooldowns here. I think the decision ends up being not correct. Actually, that kind of does. But I barrier for it. As you can see, my Mindbender is not up yet, and do I use it? I think I don't. Yeah, I'm being greedy and I don't use it. In a 17, this could have been a wipe because I greeted my Mindbender here. This next section is actually kind of slow. You would think from your like weekly 10s or even your, I don't know, 13s that you pull more here, but these flame renders here are just ridiculous. I paint up my tank here. I'm thinking to PI, but I'm waiting for the ascension use. And I think so does he. I think I end up not using it. Yeah. We end up playing this alone, which might seem like a wrong decision first, but I think it was me saying that we're not gonna survive 4 warlocks because there's 3 warlocks on the side and this lava bender. And I end up being correct because even just one guy can be spicy if you have one curse, right? And like your mind bender is just gonna run out. So if you're not, I don't know, if you don't have any CDs up, offensive CDs, then it's just gonna live too long. And there's nothing happening here. Just playing the 3 warlocks with the enforcer. The enforcer has 10 stacks here, so our tank is gonna kite. As you can see, in my opinion, even this pull can be kind of spicy. You have 3 curse mobs, which of course, like individually are not killing you, but they also like spam cast shadow bolts. And these shadow bolts, however, they're like close to one-shotting you on a 16. I think I fear here, yeah. And we end up pulling only 4 of these. Obviously, in hierarchies, you actually skip the lava benders. You don't pull them anymore. It's just kind of, I don't want to say an impossible pull, but as this priest, it's kind of, maybe kind of impossible. I don't know. You would need a lot of damage and possibly lust for you to not lose any people on this pull. So I think you just end up not doing it. So we just skip this mob. Or these 2 mobs, rather. I just send another Shadow Fiend here because this mob actually takes a while and it belongs to the boss fight. Or it triggers a boss fight, rather. For these triple curses on the next boss, I try to have Shadow Fiend up always and just combo with a quick Mind Blast Reprimand combo. Because you get the knockback pretty soon after, and I think I call for Dispels here because I don't want to use Shadow Fiend. I say Shadow Fiend, but when I say Shadow Fiend, I mean Mindbender or rather Void Wrath, which is what it is actually called in Void Weaver spec. Fun fact, Pro Paladin is not allowed to pull with Avenger Shield here because it can bounce to the mobs and that's an immediate wipe. So we use Lust here, API the Shaman, he even pops AG. And the goal here is just to explode the boss, basically. I'm kind of overusing for this area, I think. I have Flash Shield DR and Fade and a shield from the Ogvoker too. It doesn't need that much to live, but obviously it's a good habit to do. This encounter ends up being kind of tank and spank. But as you can see, I always line Mindbender and Mind Blast here for the curses, because I can kind of clear it in like 2 GCDs. You can like you can like Shadow with Death Snipe these if your Mindbender is still up for some extra damage or just like that. Um, I don't really bother with it. I just focus the boss. My eyes in this moment are glued more to tank health, because something that can happen here is that he just randomly falls over or calls for a CD. I think he even calls for a barrier here. I'm not sure. We'll see. Oh no, a barrier here. Yeah, I actually mistime my Mind Blast here, but and it ends up not mattering. This is not a real. There's not a real healing check on this fight. It's more a survivability check for the group if you live this knockback here. But it's actually not that hard, and obviously the tank has to live as well, and you can't touch any ads if you're fixated. The tank almost explodes from something here. I think it was a swirly. So at this moment we have 10 minutes left, which is kind of the time you need to do this key. This pull is, I think, the last dangerous pull in my opinion, because you have one flame render and like 4 casters. It's actually kind of dangerous. Our mage has CDs, our shaman has no. The next pull ends up being the dragon, since we didn't play an extra dragon at the beginning with those hatchlings. A thing that can happen here is the hatchlings give you this debuff that increases shadow damage taken, right? And the umbral wind and this one debuff that he randomly puts on people are shadow damage. The one thing I'm worried here at this moment is when these hatchlings die, is my tank gonna flop over from the wind? He ends up surviving it, obviously, but that is like what was on my mind when I was playing the key. I Rapture Shield the shaman here, I think, because I don't know if he's planning to line or not. And he sends a Ascendance here, which I think is a good use because you want to use 2 minutes, I think, on the double Mind Flay pack or whatever it's called. So getting this killed quickly is pretty good. Now, for all of these kinds of, I don't know, single target train effects or dots or whatever, I like to atone the person with something, ideally not a shield, but sometimes I'll just shield, and then send a defensive penance into them, ideally one that I have buffed with a Mind Blast, so that it has the power of the Dark Side proc, maybe even Radiance. And then send a defensive penance into a Smite Shield combo. So in these packs, you also do something similar in like the second boss Arakara, for example. See, I use the Radiance here, and then I chain the Radiance into a quick penance, a flash heal, and a shield. Could probably flash heal early. I could like pre-flash heal this for the buff. That would be the absolute correctest play, I would say. Here I do the same thing again. I think I pain stop him here, yeah. I'm afraid because he has 8 stacks. So we walk into this pack with full CDs basically. My PI is coming up in like 4 seconds. And I think we just make the call to focus 1 here. And since we have the shield from Ogwalker buff up, he has his own depth CD up. The second goes on Mage, who is kind of invincible anyway. Oh, almost, actually almost died. Yeah, he was greedy with Ice Cold. Then I go for another Radiance into... Oh wait, I don't have penance up here. some Rapture spam in between. As you can see, I'm like holding the penance for the ability. I'm not sending it to make the rift bigger or anything, at least not immediately. The defensive penance actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, I hope it's not misinformation, also makes the rift bigger, so you also get more damage from it. So don't be afraid to like send a defensive penance here to heal someone, and don't feel like you're losing a ton of damage for doing it. So we have almost 5 minutes here. How I start this boss is always by using Shadow Fiend a bit early. Like I want it like 10 seconds before the big AoE. And then I typically time a Radiance very timely so that it like reaches the first tick and then immediately go into Reprimand, into Smite. This is often enough, I think. You can even send 2 Radiances, like you send the first like whenever and then send the second right as the first tick comes. This is just kind of use dev CDs. As you can see, I got the Mindbender up here again, and this is something that is very important on this fight for me personally. I want to have Mindbender on both these abilities. Like I'm just smiting. I'm even using Mind Blast before the Mindbender here just to get it rolling basically. A Radiance, even double Radiance, Dark Reprimand, White Blast, and I think Shadow of Death. Yeah, exactly. And the group is glued to 100%. We also had AG running though, so it's like would have been fine either way. And the goal here is to, well, reset Mindbender again and then do this all over again. Sometimes it doesn't really work out because, as you can see, we run a lot. And yeah, I resort to spamming Rapture here, which, because I was a little bit slow on the Mindbender, right? Because I had to run. I could have greeted it more, I think. But this is like almost, yeah, this is not perfect play, I think, but that's what I end up. Those are the punches you roll sometimes. Those are the punches you roll sometimes with. Same thing here. I'm just kind of looking to get into position and also reset Mindbender. It almost ends up working. I think I get it ready here. Oh yeah, because I have to move. I lose the shaman here. That's so bad. Well, it's not bad, but it's like if I just had one more GCD or I didn't have to move there, or I was in position already, I could have used Mindbender and then just blasted the boss and didn't have to like try to save him with a defensive penance and died in the end. So this is just maybe wrong play for me. You can see how important it is to just reset your fucking Mindbender over and over again. Since we have Lust here, this is no problem. What ends up being a problem here is all these tentacles. And I'm like, oh no, if I'm gonna die here, it's over. Like, I'm really worried here. I even I pop everything here, I think. Or actually end up not using Mindbender, oh my god. I'm so panicking here. But ends up not mattering. Since we have Lust running and then the boss is dead. Um, yeah, so I obviously didn't play this perfectly, but I think this shows that sometimes you don't have to play perfectly to time something. But in general, how I want to play this is like the way I did it in the beginning, which is use your Mindbender pretty early, because all you need to have is the uptime of it from the Shadow Covenant during this AoE, which is pretty short, and then you have like 20 seconds to reset it. Obviously, this is much easier with PI and Lust and everything, but also what you can and should do is hold your penance while you have to move. This gives you like an additional GCD that you would end up doing nothing with if you already used it when you didn't have to move. And this is basically how I want to play it. Obviously, I end up not playing it like that because things go wrong. I have to move a lot. We end up sharing too much space, and I have to move, and somebody dies. But yeah, that's the plan. Well, this ends up being an improvement from a 13 Grim Batol, which is big puntos. So I was really happy with that. Yeah, that's the key basically. Let me know if you like this kind of video. I'm planning to do this for the more, maybe for all the dungeons, I don't know. I have another 16 City of Threads I timed, which I think I can say a little bit more healing rotation wise. I think it's a pretty interesting key to heal. Also, this is obviously my first time. This is kind of unscripted, and it's actually very unscripted. I don't have a script, and I'm just talking. I'm just yapping. So this is not very professional or anything. It's just me talking. Well, let me know if you like this. And bye.